Why you're not lazy, it's actually your brain sabotaging your cleanup. Surprising, right? You think it's a lack of motivation, but really, the way our brains process memory, identity, and decision making is the real roadblock. And stick with me here, because the third reason most decluttering fails will absolutely change how you look at your whole house. We're going to uncover 7 hidden brain-based reasons why the usual decluttering advice doesn't work for you and what to do instead. Think of it as learning the backdoor code to your own habits, so the systems actually stick this time. Before we jump in, let me ask, where are you watching from? I always love seeing the mix of places people tune in from. And if you enjoy tips that make homemaking feel easier and more joyful, tap that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Now, here's the first truth bomb. Your memory is one of the biggest saboteurs when it comes to clutter. You know those sentimental things, ticket stubs, postcards, grandma's serving spoon that don't really have a place, but you can't toss them either. That's not just stuff. That's your brain fighting to preserve memories, which is why the just get rid of it approach never works. So instead of battling your memory, let's work with it. One simple shift: photograph sentimental items before letting them go. Snap the picture, jot a little note about the story, and put it into a digital memory book or even a printed one if you like the feel of a real album. Suddenly, the memory is safe, but the drawer is free. And for the treasures that still matter deeply, set up one single memory shelf, not a museum, not a whole room, just one shelf. When you walk past it, you'll smile. And when new keepsakes come in, you'll naturally choose what's worth sharing space with your favorites. That way, the shelf tells a story instead of shouting chaos. Here's a quick tip to make it even easier. If something is too hard to let go in the moment, take a photo right then. And then, this part is key, actually let it go. You'll feel that little sigh of relief when the guilt leaves along with the extra item. Do you already do this, or is this new to you? Now let's move into the second brain-based reason decluttering fails. Your identity gets stuck in the past. Think about it. Every room in your home is basically a reflection of who you are right now, or at least who you used to be. The office that's collecting dust, that was your career identity. The treadmill in the bedroom, that was your I'll exercise at home phase. The spare room full of boxes, well, let's just say it's been holding on to all kinds of one-day projects. Here's the problem. When your spaces serve a life you're no longer living, the clutter piles up. But when you redesign them around your actual weekly routines, suddenly they support you instead of haunting you. So ask yourself, whose life does this room serve? If it doesn't serve your current life, it's time to realign. Maybe that unused office could become a cozy craft nook for the grandkids, or a reading lounge with your favorite chair and a small lamp. If the treadmill is basically a clothes rack, give yourself permission to admit it. Repurpose the corner into something you'll actually enjoy, like a little music spot or a space for puzzles. And here's the part most people miss. Removing or repurposing items tied only to past identities doesn't erase those parts of your life. It frees up space for the identity you're living now. Trust me, it feels so much lighter when your home finally matches your day-to-day instead of your maybe one-day self. Ever notice how a spare room can turn into a ghost town of random items? The I'll deal with it later zone? Yeah, later never comes. But shifting that room's purpose right now changes everything. And don't worry, we're just getting started. Because the third brain reason your decluttering fails is the one that shocks everyone. And it's coming up next. All right, let's dive into that third reason. And I'll warn you, this is the one that trips up almost everybody. It's not about laziness. It's about decision fatigue. See, your brain isn't built to handle endless keep or toss choices in one sitting. That's why those marathon decluttering days usually end with you sitting on the floor surrounded by piles, wondering why you started. Here's where the micro decision method comes in. Instead of trying to tackle a whole room, you break it down into the tiniest categories. Not the kitchen, just coffee mugs. Not the closet, just scarves. When you shrink the category, you shrink the mental load. And here's another brain trick. Limit yourself to 20 minutes at a time and no more than 15 to 20 decisions. That's it. Set a timer, handle the tiny category, and then stop. If you try to push through longer, your brain quietly switches from thoughtful decision making into autopilot. And that's when you either keep everything out of exhaustion or toss something you'll regret later. So build in recovery. Give yourself a full 24 hours before the next round. You wouldn't run a marathon every morning, so don't expect your brain to do one with decluttering choices either. Here's a quick snack-sized hack. Instead of thinking about how many hours you declutter, count how many decisions you completed. 10 mugs sorted? That's a win. 1 drawer reorganized? Another win. You'll see progress stack up without burning out. And speaking of stacking, let's talk about the 4th reason clutter lingers. Your brain craves visibility. If you can't see it, you forget you own it. That's why you have 6 rolls of tape in different drawers or 20 pins scattered in purses and baskets. But on the flip side, too much visual noise overwhelms you, like opening a cabinet where every shelf screams for attention. So we flip the script with the zone visibility system. The trick is to make your most used items pop with color and accessibility while calming the rest down. Let's say your everyday meds live in a bright labeled caddy right on the counter. You'll never forget them, but all those once-a-year baking supplies, tuck them into solid color bins that blend in with your shelves, out of sight, out of stress. Another piece of this system is what I call single action retrieval. If you have to move 3 other things just to get to the mixing bowl, that's kitchen Tetris, and your brain hates it. Every daily item should be a one-step grab. No shifting, no stacking, no puzzle solving required. Here's the mini hook. Apply the 30-second retrieval rule. Any routine, making coffee, taking your vitamins, packing a lunch, shouldn't take more than half a minute to access the supplies. If it does, it means the system needs adjusting. Now, I'd love to hear this from you. What's your most frustrating clutter zone? The spot that makes you sigh every time you open it? Drop it in the comments. I promise you're not the only one dealing with that mystery lid drawer or the hall closet that tries to eat you alive. And while you're here, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if these brain-friendly tips are hitting home. It really helps this channel grow, and it makes sure you get more strategies that actually work with your life. But we're not done yet, because the next reason decluttering fails goes even deeper. It's about how your home is laid out for routines, not just stuff. And once you see it, you'll never set up a room the same way again. Here's the thing most people never consider. Your brain organizes life around routines, not categories. That's the 5th hidden reason clutter keeps sneaking back. You might sort all the scissors into one drawer, but when you're actually wrapping a gift, you need scissors, tape, ribbon, and maybe even a card all together, all at once. That's where the navigation reduction system comes in. Instead of thinking, where do the scissors live? Think, what does this routine need? For example, make a little morning basket with everything for breakfast, your coffee pods, the mug you love, the sweetener, and the spoon. Now you're not trekking across the kitchen like it's an obstacle course before you've even had caffeine. Here's the rule that makes it click. No part of a routine should take longer than 30 seconds to access. If it does, the system isn't serving you. Imagine never having to hunt for the peanut butter again because your lunch prep bin has everything in one place. That small shift saves more time than all the random reorganizing in the world. And to lock it in, add what I call completion cues. These are little markers, colored stickers, tags, or even a small clip that tell you, yep, everything's here. It's like your brain gets a green light instead of a nagging, something's missing. Simple, but so satisfying. Now let's get into the sixth brain-based reason decluttering fails: legacy items. You know the ones, things you're not using day to day, but you feel like you're holding on to them for your kids or grandkids. Here's the catch. Keeping something in a box in the garage isn't always the best way to pass down a story. So separate what you're saving for legacy from what you actually use. Then ask yourself, is this the best way to share this story? Sometimes the answer is yes, like keeping grandma's quilt in a cedar chest with a little note about who made it. But sometimes a photograph and a short recorded story preserve the memory better than a bulky object no one else knows the meaning of. One family I know made a legacy album filled with pictures of heirlooms, plus handwritten captions about who they belonged to and why they mattered. The physical items were pared down to a small chest of true treasures. That way, the legacy wasn't a burden. It was a gift. And honestly, it feels better to pass down a story that's been curated than a mountain of mystery objects. And finally, the seventh reason, time perception. Big marathon sessions sound productive, but your brain doesn't measure effort in hours. It measures in achievements. That's why 3 little 15-minute sessions often feel better and work better than one giant weekend purge. So schedule micro sessions into natural pauses while the coffee brews tackle that junk drawer. During TV commercials, sort the basket of mail. Define projects you can finish in one go, like clearing the spice shelf, so your brain gets the reward of completion. Track progress by decisions made, not hours spent. I cleared out 12 books feels tangible. I decluttered for 2 hours just feels exhausting. Quick example. If you finish one micro project before lunch, you'll feel like the house is moving forward all day, even if you never touch another drawer. That little momentum snowballs. So let's do a super fast recap. You've now seen how your brain blocks you in 7 sneaky ways: memory overload, identity stuck in the past, decision fatigue, visibility stress, routine chaos, legacy pressure, and time perception traps. And more importantly, you've got brain smart systems to flip every single one into a win. Which of these clicked most for you? I'm curious. Was it the memory shelf idea, or the 15-minute sessions, or maybe that one basket routine? Share it in the comments. I'd love to know what's sticking for you, because when you start aligning your home with the way your brain actually works, clutter doesn't stand a chance. Instead of fighting your habits, you're finally using them to your advantage. And that, my friend, is when your home really starts to feel like it fits you again. Here's what I love most about these 7 systems. Once you see them, you can't unsee them. Suddenly, the piles on the counter or the boxes in the garage aren't just mess, they're clues. Each one ties back to a brain-based reason, and now you've got the tools to handle it without the guilt trip. Think about the difference. Instead of staring at a drawer full of random cables and feeling overwhelmed, you can say, okay, this is decision fatigue. I'll just handle 5 cables today. Instead of beating yourself up for keeping your child's old soccer trophies, you'll recognize it as a legacy item and decide if the story's better told through a photo and a note. And the best part, these systems don't just clear space, they give you energy back. Every micro session finished, every basket set up, every room realigned with your actual routines adds up. Suddenly, instead of dragging yourself through the day, you've got these little wins carrying you forward. Let's be real. clutter doesn't just take up space, it takes up brain power. It's that little voice that says, I should really deal with this later. But when you work with your brain instead of against it, that voice quiets down. You start walking into rooms that feel like they belong to your life right now. Not 5 years ago, not someday, but today. And yes, there will always be a junk drawer or two. Honestly, I think every home needs one. The trick is making sure it doesn't turn into 5 junk drawers that secretly stress you out every time you open them. So here's my challenge to you. Pick just one of these systems and try it this week. Maybe it's the memory shelf. Maybe it's a 15-minute session while your tea steeps. Maybe it's turning a forgotten corner into a space that actually fits your routines. One little experiment, that's all. Because once you feel the shift in one spot, you'll want to keep going. And before you know it, the house starts feeling lighter. Not because you tossed everything, but because you finally matched your home to your brain. If this video gave you an aha moment, make sure to hit like. It helps more people discover these brain-friendly strategies. And don't forget to subscribe so you'll get the next round of practical tips that make homemaking simpler and saner. Your home is meant to support your life, not weigh it down. And with these 7 systems in your back pocket, you're already halfway there.